Hello and welcome back to another Tiger Games YouTube channel video. Today we're going to talk about a very odd trilogy. It is called The Hobbit. You might have heard of it. It is in the Middle-earth franchise. Let's just dive into it because this is a trilogy that I question a lot. So yeah, this is the first movie, Hobbit: An Unexpected Journey. It's a 2-hour long movie, and basically what happened is The Hobbit is a single book, and they decided to make it a trilogy, which sounds odd. Well, anyway, the first movie isn't that bad. It tells the Hobbit story more than the other ones, because the other ones are just making up stuff, really. There are a couple things in this film that just make me cringe a bit, because there are certain characters I didn't want to see. Like, there's the character of Azog, this, orc leader, who has this beef with Thorin, the leader of the dwarves, and I didn't want to see that. Key standout moments of this film, I think Bilbo and Gandalf have the best scenes and, character moments. Bilbo and Gollum, easily the best scene in the film. Andy Serkis does a great performance of Gollum, even though it's a short scene. Other bits in this film, I think, I'm not sure, because this is an odd film to talk about, because it's a Hobbit movie. It's not Lord of the Rings, it's a Hobbit. But some scenes that the characters aren't great in this film, really, because you can't really characterise 13 dwarves. It is possible, but they didn't try, did they? The story, however, it's just them going on the journey, which sounds boring. It is boring. But the story, the character of Bilbo goes off is he has to accept the adventure, which is the character arc of Bilbo in the book. It's a trilogy, so why don't you just make the whole character arc develop through the trilogy? No, they didn't do that. They just put it in the bloody first film. So, yeah, it's not great. But as I said earlier, this is the one that does most of the story from the Hobbit book, which sounds right, but later on they just don't do that. If I were to... This is the most rewatchable Hobbit of the trilogy. It's weird saying it's a trilogy because even though it doesn't make sense. But overall, I will give this film it's a 6 out of 10, 5 out of 10. And just one thing I want to point out is that lots of this... In the Lord of the Rings trilogy, obviously, they have characters. They adapted the story very well. This trilogy doesn't. So you have characters like Azog, I said earlier, who's this leader of this leader of the orcs, and also they make the ring, which in the Hobbit book isn't important because Tolkien didn't plan out the Lord of the Rings yet. So the ring is just something Bilbo uses to hide away from Gollum and Smaug in the next film. So it's but they want to relate it to the Lord of the Rings because Lord of the Rings is special, isn't it? So yeah, it just doesn't really make sense. It's a confusing film that it's rewatchable, but you get confused, and also the opening is just really funny because it's double the length of Fellowship's opening. So yeah, it's just about a dragon attacking a castle. That's all you've got to do, but you've got to build the characters like they did in the Lord of the Rings. But they didn't in the story because The Hobbit is a single book. But yeah, this is the best of the trilogy, which is really the high bar. But let's go on to the next film, The Desolation of Smaug, which is not a film that it's It's got good scenes like this film, but it's filled with needless plot conveniences and things like that. So let's go to the film. Okay, The Hobbit: The Desolation of Smaug is a, let's just say, odd film. So obviously this is the second in the Hobbit trilogy. It's odd to say that, as I said earlier. This is when the story started to get a bit confusing. So basically, the key sections of this part of the book is meeting Beorn, Flies and Spiders chapter, when they go to visit the elves, escaping the elves, going to Lake Town, and meeting Smaug. That's all that happens in this section of the book that they're basing the film on. So they have to add a lot of bits, because that sounds like an hour you can do. Before I get into the bad bits, let's go to good. Smaug and Bilbo scene is the best scene in the film. Not a high bar, but it's a great scene. Benedict Cumberbatch does a great motion capture and just overall performance. But there's one scene in this film that I think is the funniest scene, because you realise they tried to do the Lord of the Rings connecting. So they make this whole bit about Sauron wanting to kill the dwarves. Yes. The big bad of the trilogy of Lord of the Rings has beef with a bunch of dwarves. I don't get that. The dwarves haven't done anything to him. They just want to get their mountain back, which is the plot of this film. But other things is that they bring Legolas and this new character called Tariel into the film. Yeah. Legolas doesn't add anything to the story. Tariel adds nothing to the story, because they try to give this Fili or Killy, I don't remember what name of the dwarf was, a love interest. It doesn't build the story out, because Tariel doesn't do anything. She's fighting characters that aren't meant to be in this story in a battle in the next film that isn't even in the book. So basically, this is when the cracks start to set in. The trilogy starts to get worse. There's only the best scenes in this film are the scenes that are in the book. But yeah, and also there's some other characters which I'm not going into, because I don't want a ranting session in this video. It's a character called Alfred, who's like this Lake Town person. He gets worse in the next film. I'm just sick of these. I get sick of this film by the time they escape the elves. That is when I get sick of it. Because also there's a plot line where Fili or Killy, I do not remember which dwarf name it was, the one with the love interest on Tariel, gets attacked by a orc who had this Morgul arrow. Yes, the ancient evil dark power that the Ringwraiths have in the Lord of the Rings that nearly kills Frodo. In The Hobbit, they just give it to this orc leader that has no significance, because he's not even in the book. Yes, I know. This movie is a mess. It has nothing that makes me want to go back and rewatch it, besides the bit with Smaug, which is just a 10-minute chat with Bilbo. That is all it is. I don't get it. But if I want to give it a rating, if I can try to give it a rating, I'll give it... What did I give? Unexpected Journey I gave a 6 or 5 out of 10. Desolation of Smaug I'll give a 3 out of 10, 3.5 out of 10. It's a bit... It's not rewatchable, it's watchable. You can, if you see it for the first time, you'll be like, okay, that will leave no impact on me in the future. But I'll watch it. So yeah, that's Desolation of Smaug, a complex and terrible movie. let's go to the next one. The Battle of the Five Armies. This film I do not want to talk about, but I put Hobbit in the title. So let's start. Okay, the Battle of the Five Armies. Widely regarded as a very, very bad film. And I'm not the one to say that it's good, because I really, really hate it. So basically, everything I was saying bad about the Desolation of Smaug, about just making up stuff, yeah, this is where they tried to settle that. So basically, first 10 minutes, you have the chapter Fire and Water from Hobbit just adapted, where Smaug attacks Lake Town. It's addressed in the end of the Desolation of Smaug, but this is like when the attack happens. It's an interesting scene. I don't have much to say about it. Smaug just attacks the town. He gets killed in the end. It's not interesting at all, really. But, and then Smaug dies before the title drops, which is quite funny, actually. But then it's just a massive battle about stuff I don't care about. So basically, this battle, in the books, Bilbo sleeps through, because Tolkien likes to say he doesn't like war. That's the point of the battle, like Bilbo sleeping through it. But they don't address that, because Bilbo doesn't sleep through it. He's present throughout the entire battle. But yeah, this is just... I remember when I watched it, I was like 11 when I saw this for the first time. My brain was still thinking, oh, this is really cool. Then when I watched it a couple weeks back, I was like, oh, I don't like this. This isn't very good. And I think I was right. I really, really hated it. But it's just really bad. And there are so many characters, I can't list them because I do not want to go into a ranting session about this film. But there's a lot of, like, original characters they put into this trilogy that have, like, their character arcs, if you could call it that, be put to an end. And they try to put so much connection to the Lord of the Rings, saying, oh yeah, Saruman says, leave Sauron to me. I'm like, literally, it's like I think it's like a 6-year gap between The Hobbit and that. It takes Saruman 60 years to go talk to Sauron? Jeez, he's probably been at a pub for like 59 of those years. And then they were like saying at the end, the King of the Elves was saying to Legolas, I want you to go look for this man called Strider, Aragorn. It takes him 60 years to find Aragorn. I mean, bloody hell, this is not meant to be the Lord of the Rings prequel. It's just meant to be a story set in Middle-earth that happens to have characters that will feature in the Lord of the Rings, like Gandalf. You don't need to do the connection because it takes 60 years before. I get it with the Star Wars prequels, like Revenge of the Sith, because it's a shorter gap. But still, I didn't need to see the Star Wars prequels. I didn't need to see the Death Star being constructed, because you have 20 years, basically. But yeah, this is just a really, really bad film. I cannot express how much I hate it, because I would be here all day just talking about how much I hate it. Obviously, I have to give this a score because I have given the other ones a score. So I give The Hobbit, The Battle of the Five Armies, I hate to say that name, Hobbit, The Battle of the Five Armies, 2.5? 2 out of 10? I really hate this. I would say 2 out of 10. It's one star out of 1 out of 5 stars. It's just so boring. And then when the battle starts, when they start killing characters off, you're meant to feel really sad about it. But why would you be sad? They haven't developed these characters, so you're like, oh, one of those dwarves has died. I don't know. I don't care. They've never posed any interest for me. But yeah, this trilogy is bad. It's not as bad as Star Wars prequels, because these ones you can actually laugh. The Star Wars prequels, you can just be sad that your favourite sci-fi franchise has turned into something like that. But yeah, I'm not going to do a review of Lord of the Rings for a bit. But thanks so much for watching this video. I'll probably get another video up this week. Have a lovely day and see you guys soon.